Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I think we give everyone a few minutes, then they can join in and we start off. But karibuni sana. And yes. Hello, everyone. For those who have just joined us, karibuni sana. I think we give everyone else maybe like 3 more minutes and then we'll start. Yeah, but karibuni.
Kijana akaona anashindwa mzee, sasa huyo demu ataka kujua kuti hata nini kama ni tunaanza kwenda mpaka kwa si Nairobi, unakimbiza
Well, okay, thank you for everyone who managed to join in on time. Karibuni sana to everyone who's here. I think it would be good for us to start off. Now, all protocols observed, all religions respected. We want to start off with a word of prayer. So we'll close your eyes. Dear mighty God, we want to commit this webinar into your hands. We want to commit everyone who's here joining us on this webinar. May you give us the wisdom to absorb what will be discussed here and not just get the theory, but to be able to put what we learned today into practice. Amen. Yeah. So karibuni sana, everyone. I think I'll just start off with introductions. My name is Linda Makitani. I'm an investing and financial literacy coach. I'm very passionate about impacting financial knowledge to people of all ages, and hence the name Finance for Families. My goal is to be the voice of financial literacy in Kenya and beyond. And this webinar is brought to you in partnership with Chumz. Chumz is a savings app, and what they're doing is encouraging all of us to form and to maintain a habit of saving. So thank you very much, Chumz, for heeding to the call when it comes to financial literacy. Yeah, and I think then we can start off. Trying to move my screen. I'm hoping you can see my screen. So this, basically our webinar today is to help us learn how to build strong financial foundation. And how we are able to do that is to learn how to manage our money. And the first thing when it comes to money management, we need to learn how to budget, and today we are going to talk about the basics of budgeting. I know at most times we feel like finance is very complex. So for me, what I try to do is I try to make it very simple and relatable, and I hope we'll be able to do that. We'll have a part at the end where now we can ask questions. So for now, we start off. Now, basically, our main aim for this webinar is to get us from that position. If right now you are looking and wondering, where is all my money going? I can't be able to account for it. Or if you're blessed and you have, a significant other, you're sitting there and you're trying to figure out, how to plan the money that you have for your family. And all the other time you're just scratching your head, like, what do we do? How do we make this work? We want to get you at the end of this webinar is to get you from that position of worrying and really anticipating, thinking so much to the point where you have it under control. You're looking and I know where my money is going, the bills that I'm supposed to pay. I have everything set for me. If you're sitting there with your significant other and you're planning around the money that you have as a family, you're doing the numbers, the math is mathing, you guys are happy. Yeah? So we are moving from all the worry and scratching our heads to being able to fully understand where our money is going and being in control of managing our money. So at the end of this, and even beyond the end of this webinar, that is what we want you to be the key takeaway from this webinar. And the reason being is your budget is very important when it comes to your financial wellness. And financial wellness is all about understanding what is my financial situation, and if I understand what my financial situation, what am I working towards? And you're able now to come through and make very informed decisions. And those decisions are aligned, they become aligned with your personal goals and your values. And when you find yourself budgeting, you find yourself very disciplined, because then you're sitting and you're figuring out where my money is going, however much, however little you feel you have. And you can be accountable, because you are the one who's giving that money direction through your budget. And through that as well, there's mindful spending with all that. And now when you find that you have that discipline, you have that accountability, you have that mindfulness, then all that works towards you being financially, towards your financial well-being. And that is what we all aspire to be. We want to sit somewhere and not really worry about where is money that for what I need to pay tomorrow going to come from. And how can you be able to do that? We need to be able to learn how to manage the money that we have now, so that we are spending some now and we are also saving for the future. Yeah. So financial wellness, and that starts with us learning how to manage our money. And how do we learn how to manage our money? Through budgeting. So first question would be then, so what is a budget? Yeah. Very simple. A budget is just a plan. And I like to think of it as, the way today's Thursday and people have been paid, guys who are in the workforce have been paid. So tomorrow is Friday, you'll be busy calling your friends and you're like, hey, boss, what's the plan? Yeah. And if you have a plan, if your friend has a plan, they'll tell you, I'm doing 1, 2, 3 things. So maybe let's link up in the evening. That's basically what a budget is. It's a plan. So your money has come into your account. It's calling you and it's asking you, hey, Eva, hi, Arthur, Daniel, what's the plan? Yeah. And now you have to give it and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We need to pay this. We need to do this. We are up for this. This needs to go into this account for saving, for investing. Simply, that is your budget. So budget is how you manage the money that is coming in, which is your income. And that money that is coming in is coming from an activity. It could be a job that you are doing. It could be a gig that you've done. It could also be an asset that you had bought, a piece of land that you have bought there in the countryside. And because you're here working, maybe you've leased it out to someone, they are farming there and they're paying you some money. So when that money comes through to you, that is an income to you, because you acquired that asset and you're generating some income from that asset. So you're looking at all the money that is coming in. Is it my salary? Is it some commission I've earned from a job I've done? Is it some passive income from investments, the assets that I have bought? And then you're also looking, how do I manage the expenses? Something that is going out. So all the costs that you need to incur as part of your everyday living. So in simple terms, your budget is your plan for how you're going to manage the money that is coming in and the money that needs to go out. Yeah. Now, as you're thinking about, I need to start budgeting, before you even draw up a budget and go to any other step, the first thing you need to think about is, what is my goal? What am I trying to achieve? Yeah, because that budget has to have a purpose. And that purpose needs to be aligned with your personal goals. It needs to be aligned with your values. You're looking at, what do I want to achieve? And it could be, let's say, I want to buy a Buddha because maybe I'll give it out to someone, they'll use it and then they'll pay me. Or even for myself, I want to buy for myself my own Buddha. How much does a Buddha cost? Maybe like about 150,000. So I want this budget that I'm making to be able to help me save that 150,000 so I can't buy that Buddha. So that becomes my goal. Maybe I want to buy an Uber. So how much does a Suzuki Alto cost? It's going to cost me maybe like about 800,000. So how can this budget that I'm creating help me to be able to come up with that 800,000 to buy that Suzuki Alto and start my Uber business? I'm in school or I've finished school, and the gig I want to do, I need to have my own laptop. How much is a laptop? Let's say 40,000. So I need to work by budget. I need to optimize this budget that I'm working on so that it can be able to help me save this 40,000 to get that, small things. I am a parent, I have my children going to school. So every other day, CBC has so many projects. They will come and tell you, we've been asked to go with Manila paper and some paint. We are going to do some art project. So I need my budget to be able to accommodate, help me to have some liquidity. So when my child comes and says, in 2 days, I need to take this to school for a project, then I am able to facilitate that. So you start with, what is my goal for this budget? When your budget has a purpose, then now it starts to take meaning. You start to see the value of actually having a budget. So step one is get a goal. What is your goal? And then now use that goal as a foundation for creating your budget. And some of the goals that you might have, one is, why am I budgeting? You could be budgeting because you want financial control over your money. And to be honest, you don't want your money controlling you. You want to be the one to control your money. You're thinking about my financial goals, the things that I'm trying, that Uber that I want to buy, that moving out from home because now I've gotten my job that I want to move out, that TV that I want to buy, the fridge that I want to buy, the school fees that I'm trying to pay. This budget needs to be able to help me be able to do that. I want to be able to have some savings and start investing. Can this budget facilitate that for me? I want to be able to create an emergency fund so that in future, if anything happens and I need to be, it needs some financial commitment from me, I'm able to, without so much worry, to be able to accommodate that. Maybe I'm in business and I want to expand my business and I'm taking a loan. I need to figure out, how do I manage this loan? So your budget should be able to help you manage, work out the repayments, include that in your budget so you don't miss your loan repayment. So all this could be reasons why you budget. Now, we are all different. We all have different financial situations. So this is where now you start thinking, in my own personal financial journey, what is this budget? Why am I budgeting? Is it because I just want first to be able to learn how to manage my money, control where my money is going instead of, my money controlling me? I have these financial goals I'm trying to achieve. It's the saving and investing that I want to do. It's that emergency fund for some financial peace, or it's that debt that I want to manage so that I'm able to clear it out. Yeah. So once you have that, you have your goal, you understand your why this budget, then now you start looking at what are the key components when it comes to budgeting. Now, when it comes to budgeting, number one is income. We said income is what is coming in. It could be your monthly salary. We talked about commissions. It could be a gig you did. Someone's paid you some money, that asset, and the money is coming in. So that's the money that's coming in. And then now you start looking at your expenses. And expenses, we said, is money that is going out. Yeah. And what is going out, you need to categorize them. So you're looking at, what is my basic expenses? These are the things that you can't do without. Yeah. And this is where I insist that the definition of budget is the same for all of us. But now when it comes to actually budgeting, then now that becomes personal. Yeah, because again, we are all different. We are all in different spaces in our financial journeys. So when you're talking about basic expenses, we've said this is what you can't do without. So there's rent. This is if you're living on your own. If you're still living at home, then for you, rent will not be a basic expense that is catered for. But there's food that you need. And then there are bills that you need. For me, I would need to pay rent. Of course, I need to eat. So I have my food. I have the house bills that I need to pay. So I need to pay electricity. Yeah. I need to pay my water bill. Then what other bills are there that are necessities for me? So for me, for my job, having internet is not an other expense. It is a basic expense because it's the way I'm able to communicate with my clients. So I add that as a basic expense. For someone else, that might be an other expense because for them, it's just maybe for browsing and watching movies here and there. So that might be an other expense. And that's why I say when now you start going down into creating your budget, that is where now it moves to being personal. You need to put it there. So you have your basic expense. We've said those are expenses that you can't do without. They're the ones, the key things you need to be able to even generate that monthly income that that is coming in. And then you're looking at other expenses. These are the other support expenses. What do I need? I need to move from point A to point B. I need to go to work. I have my personal expenses. I need to be well groomed. So it's figuring out, the personal care stuff that I need to buy. I am a social being, as humans, we need to interact. So can I also have within my budget expense so that I can be able to socialize with my friends, be able to take a trip now and then, all those things. I have taken a loan, maybe, I'm trying to advance my studies. So I'm doing my master's, a course here and there. So I've taken like a loan, which I need to repay. So it's also looking to how can I be able to do the loan repayments. So that also becomes an expense. And as well, it's not just about paying, it's also trying to see this tomorrow that is coming. So can I also have money aside for putting in for, and as part of my emergency fund, in case I get any financial emergency, I'll be able to reach out and deal with it. Then I'm also looking for savings, something that I'm looking to acquire in the future. I can start saving towards that. Investments so that I can be able to grow my wealth as well. So those are the key components when it comes to budget. So you're looking, what is my income? What are my basic expenses, the ones I can't do without? And then I'm looking at what are all the other expenses that are there. And very key, what can I have down as my savings? My emergency fund, sinking fund, the savings, and the investments. Yeah. So this is a sample budget where you're looking at, the first would be looking at your income. So maybe I'm getting a salary of 45,000. And then, I've done some website design and I'm being paid 20. So I want us to look at them, column by column. So the first column is the source. We're looking at the income. So what's the source of the income? We have salary. I'm working. My expectation is I'm going to get 45,000. Then I actually get the 45,000. Now, we are looking at, some people would ask, why have the expected column and the actual column? Now, the expected column is the estimates, and this is based on past expenses. And it's good to work with estimates because then as you go along, you're limiting yourself. You're putting your expenses and saying, this is a match that when it comes to like expenses, this is a match that I have estimated I'm going to spend when it comes to transport. And you try to keep within that. And then now the actual is what now will show you. So this is what I actually spent at the end. So if there's any difference between the two, then now you start looking. The reason why for me, I find it very, very important to have both the expected and the actual when it comes to budgeting is the behavioral aspect of it when it comes to budgeting. Because when you estimate, or when you forecast it, then you sort of like put yourself in that, your focus becomes, can I keep myself within the estimates that I have put? And then you start finding yourself looking at things like, so I've said my budget for transport is 4,000 shillings. If I find myself going a bit beyond, then I start looking for other ways that I can keep myself either within budget or under budget. So if I have a workmate who's going the route that I'm going, can I hitch a ride with them, buy for them a fruit like this, give them stories in the car so they're not bored? Then they drop me off on the way. I've saved a bit. But if you don't have that estimate, then it's very hard for you to work within. You need to work within some limit, and then it keeps you now start to think, what actions can I take to keep myself within the estimate? And your decision making process also now changes. So for me, I feel like that's why the expected one is very important, and the actual one as well. So now when you have your expected and the end you do your actual, it's trying to see, is there a difference between the two, and why the difference? When you're asking yourself why the difference, you are actually now giving yourself an opportunity to find areas of improvement, areas for you to save more, areas for you to get to figure out, why did I say I'll spend 8,000 and end up spending 7,000? Where now do I take that deficit so that now next month I try to put myself within that 7,000? So this, when you're able to do that, you can now find areas for you to be able to budget better, and to find areas for you to save even more. So very, very important. So you have your income column, you have your expenses column where you list them down, you have what you've budgeted for, and then what you actually end up spending. And then again, you said you do like an analysis at the end and try and see, is there any difference and why the difference? And then you also work towards your saving and your investing with that. Now, there are different methods for you when it comes to budgeting. As I've said, personal finance is very personal. So we all have different preferences. And I think that's why it's very good that there are different ways that you can be able to budget. Yeah. So the first one is pay yourself first budget. This is where you're giving yourself priority. You're saying, I am the one who's going out and making this money. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put money aside, pay myself. And then what is left is what is going to cater for the other expenses. Yeah. And then you work with that. What this helps you do is it helps you to prioritize wealth building, because this money that you're putting aside is what you're going to invest. And that the investment is going to earn you interest. And if you keep investing, you get now to benefit from the power of compounding. Yeah. So for this first method, it's for those of us who feel like I'm out here, I'm grinding, the money that I'm getting from the work that I'm doing, number one is me. I am a priority, actually. I am the priority. So I pay myself, I build my wealth, then whatever else is left is what now caters for my expense. So that is the first one, pay yourself first. Another method for budgeting is you break it down and say, 50, 30, 20. This is where you're looking at 50% of the income that has come in goes into your essential expenses, the ones with your basic expenses. We'd say, if you're paying rent, your food, all that. Then 30% goes to now your other expenses, and then 20% goes into your savings and your debt repayment. Now, this 50, 30, 20, you can switch it up dependent on your current situation. So if you're living at home and you're trying to save up for moving out, that 50% could actually be your savings. Because for you now, your focus, remember your goal, your main goal is to be able to put money aside so that you can move out comfortably. So you say 50 because I'm here, I'm eating food provided by my parents. I am, I don't pay any electricity, I'm not paying any water, then that means I can actually allocate 50% to my savings. Then maybe 30% goes into my basic other, personal care and what. Then 20% I can invest. And then now maybe later on when you've moved out, then now you switch up the percentages as well. So as I've said, now you look at it and see, where am I? What makes sense for me? And then that is what you use. So that's the 50, 30, 20 budget. Another way that you can be able to budget. The other way that you can be able to budget is the zero-based budget. Now, this is a budgeting where you're giving every shilling that you have a job. So I am earning 35,000. All this 35,000, I need to be able to account and say, and this is 5,000 is going here. This 2,000 is going here and all that. So it's actually just making sure that every shilling that you have is accounted for. And it helps you to avoid mindless spending, because sometimes you might budget. If you find you have a lose 1,000, 2,000 shillings here, what happens? You give yourself reason for buying something that you've seen, which might not necessarily be, like a need. It's a want. That money would have been better off going into your investments. So, and all this, and one other way that it's talked about, it's the envelope budgeting, but this envelope budgeting, it could be in either of the other ones that we've talked about. So if you're paying yourself first, then what is left after you've paid yourself, now you can categorize it and you put it in different envelopes and say, I'm only going to spend 4,000 on my transport, and you put it either in a virtual wallet or on a or like an actual envelope or a digital envelope, and you work towards that. So it is for you to choose which one works best for me. Is it paying myself first so that I prioritize building my wealth? Is it the 50, 30, 20, where I'm working with the numbers and I'm trying to stick to those numbers? Or is it the zero-based where I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing mindful spending? Every shilling that I am making is working for me because I've already worked to earn those shillings. And then next we look at what are some of the common challenges, when it comes to budgeting, and how do we win? The first one is underestimating our expenses. And a way to be able to win this is you need to be able to learn how to track and review. So you're looking at what were my past expenses, and now you get better estimations to use in your budgeting. Another common challenge is overspending. You've gone somewhere, you spend, you're like, I'll account for it next month, like that. So this is where now you become very intentional. You set your spending limits and you try and stick to that. And if at the end of the month, if depending on the budgeting method that you're using, if there are any shillings that are left, what do? You move that into your savings before you start the new budgeting cycle. And then there's also another challenge for inconsistent. I start budgeting, I'm doing good at it, and then 3 months down the line, I forget, or things come up, lives, and I find myself not really taking my budgeting very seriously. So what do you do? This is where now you decide what works for me. What am I comfortable with? Do I want to have a manual budget where I sit down, I have a money date, sit and work out my budget? Or do I want to be able to do it digitally? And now you decide that. Then, or do I want to be, yes, so do I want to sit down and do the budget, or do I want to be able to just do it digitally? When you choose what's comfortable for you, you find yourself continuing at it because, it easily becomes a habit now. Then another common challenge is unexpected expenses. You've worked your budget, to the T. If you're on the zero-based budget, to the T, and then you get an unexpected expense. What do you do? Now, this is where your emergency, remember we'd say part of savings is in the emergency fund. This is where emergency savings comes into play. And it's always good to remember that you need to start building it slowly. Don't think of it as that large sum. What have you allocated for it in your budget? That 1,000. It's going to be 1,000 this month. It's going to be 2,000 because next month you'll add another 1,000. If you do it consistently for a year, it's going to be 12,000 shillings. So next year, if you get an emergency and you need 10,000, guess what? You have 10,000 shillings because you had consistently saved 1,000, allocated for it in your budget, that I'm going to be saving 1,000 into my emergency fund, and you did that throughout the year, and you're able now to cater for those unexpected expenses. The other one is demoralization. This is where, you start budgeting and you're thinking, I'm not seeing any progress and all that. A key way to be able to win this is to, one, set realistic goals, and you don't over set, very unachievable goals. Just set realistic goals. And then as you keep budgeting every month, look for those small milestones, the wins that you've had, and celebrate those wins. And as well, be flexible to adjust, because the life we're living is constantly changing, and your budget can be reviewed, and budgeting is a work in progress. No one starts something knowing everything. You start, and as you move on, you improve. So take time to celebrate the small wins that you have. I was able to save 500 shillings because I've started budgeting. And before, I wasn't budgeting. I didn't even know where my money was going. Now, I'm feeling more confident. I've saved 500. I put 500 in my emergency fund. That's a win, and that gives you the motivation to continue. The last one is to be able now to take time and reevaluate, so that your budget can accommodate any changes. I'm living at home, I've moved out, my budget changes. I've moved out, I've gotten a spouse, we've gotten married, now we are family, the budget changes. We have now children coming into the picture, my budget changes. So your budget needs to be able to accommodate the changes in your life as well. Yeah. So it's a live document. Keep reevaluating it and realigning it with the changes in your life, your personal goals and values. So my tips on how to start and keep budgeting, I've said set realistic goals, smart goals, goals that you can work towards achieving. They challenge you, but they are achievable. And then track your progress. So as you track your progress, you see the small wins that you have, celebrate those small wins. It goes a long way in motivating you. And as well, think about getting an accountability partner. This is someone you can share with. When you're feeling like, oh, my budget is not working, it's someone you can bounce off ideas with. What else do you think I can do? I'm trying to achieve this and I'm working on my budget. They can give you ideas. Or maybe once in a while, you motivate one another throughout your budgeting journey. Very important. So I think this is where now that the very simple roadmap when you're budgeting. We started with know your why. Why am I budgeting? What do I want to achieve? That's where you start off. And then now you track your expenses. What are my basic expenses? Or what are my discretionary expenses? Can I get to be able to work the estimates that are there? Then from there, project your income. What money is coming in? What more can I do to be able to get more money coming in? And then as I go ahead, I need to set my spending limits to work within these numbers, because I want to be able to save for this. Then you use the budgeting tools that make it comfortable for you to keep budgeting, not to just start, but to keep budgeting. And what would be, so do I want to use spreadsheets? Is there an app that I can use? Other tools that I know that if I use them, I'm comfortable in that and I can keep doing that. And lastly, is to remember, as life is lifing, changes are being happening in our lives, then remember to regularly adjust and be able to make sure your budget fits in with your current situation. Yeah. So finally, from me, key takeaways on the basics of budgeting. One is to understand. I hope you've seen the power that budget can be when it comes to financial control. You being able to control your money, telling your money where to go, not just being there. Secondly, is know and track your income and expenses. Yeah. Be able to know how much money am I expecting, how much has come in, how much money am I spending. These are the estimates I made. This is what I actually spent. Why? And see what opportunities are there to be able to save or do more. We talked about goals, so make sure you're setting smart goals that will help you, and how your budget is going to help you to achieve those goals. Again, we've talked about choose what feels comfortable for you. Do I want to do a digital budget? Do I want to do a manual budget? Because we want to keep it sustainable. Lastly, we talked about your accountability partner. or ways that you can be able to motivate yourself. Is it listening to podcasts or watching, like this webinar is being recorded, so we'll share it once in a while. Maybe when you're feeling, I can't remember what they said, you can go back and refer, watch again, get motivated. You're like, yeah, it's not that hard to budget. I can continue doing it, and you motivate yourself to continue. Yeah. So for me, those are the key takeaways. I hope for you as well throughout this session. And with that, I want to say a very big thank you for being with us here today. And if you have any questions, please share. We can go through, because before we close off, I think we are good on time. So share your questions, your sentiments throughout the session. Oh, wow. No questions? Okay. I've seen Daniel's raised his hand.
Hello, good evening.
Evening.
Good evening, Linda.
Yes, Daniel. Good evening.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. It was an insightful session. Much appreciated. I have a quick one. In the budgeting process, should we incorporate miscellaneous without the risk of having some money that we might tend to overspend from maybe that kit? And maybe how do we go about it? Because I think maybe that's my little challenge. I think I did hear some of the political analysts saying that when we have items like miscellaneous in our budget, that's like we are pre-planning to do corruption. But maybe that's another that's in their own context. But in a personal concept or context, should we have these things called miscellaneous? And maybe how do we arrive at it without risking overspending?
Wow, good question. Thank you, Daniel. So when it comes to miscellaneous, the way I go about it is, yes, I will allocate some money for it, but it is not money that I am working with. Remember as well, we said part of the savings is you have your emergency fund, you have your savings, and then you have what you're setting aside for investing. Now, investing is long-term. Your savings is your short-term, yeah? So that becomes your miscellaneous. So if you have maybe something that needs some money quickly, then you're able to do that. And one way to avoid overspending when you've even set for yourself, like maybe like a small amount as your miscellaneous, let's say I'm going to leave some 2,000 shillings in my account, just in case, I have like a real emergency. I need money now, or I need to be able to pay for something now that is going to help me generate more income. And maybe at the end of the month, I do not use that money for that purpose. So what do I do with that 2,000 shillings? If I leave it in that account, I am going to find another reason to spend it. I'll be like, okay, but it was here. You see, I'd accounted that I'm going to spend it because now this one didn't come through. I didn't have to spend it. Let me buy something else. What you can do is the way we say it, at the end of the month, before you start that other budgeting cycle, when you're doing, these were my estimates, these are my actuals. I had put 2,000 for any miscellaneous expenditure that may arise. Nothing did. That 2,000 goes into your saving. That 2,000, example, if you have a Chumz account, goes into your Chumz account there to start earning interest, or goes to that money market fund account for you to start earning interest. So you don't keep it with you, so that when you start the next cycle, you start from, this is the income that has come in, and these are my estimates for this month. So I think that's a good way, yes, because you never know with life, we never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So it's good to be able to set that. But at the end of the month, please move it so that it can be able to save you another time that you will need saving. Yeah, I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, it's well answered. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think, let me look at the questions on the chat. So Daniela is asking, how to use budgeting as a tool for getting out of debt? Now, when you're doing your budgeting, there's a section where now you have to put your loan repayments. When you're thinking about the goal for your budget, if you're in debt, then that means part of the goals for this budget that you're creating should be keep up with my loan payments, or maybe even find those opportunities where I can save 1,000 or 2,000 more, and that can go into repaying my debt so that I can finish it. I can finish maybe even before that loan duration. But it's very good so that you're not trying to figure out where will I get money to pay my loan. If you budget, you have, this is, and for a loan, what is my repayment amount. If I need to be able to pay 5,000 every month, when I'm working my budget, that becomes one of the key things that I make sure that I have allocated 5,000 for that loan repayment. And you get to be able to do that. So very key, as I said at the beginning, the first thing is your goal. What do you want your budget to be able to help you achieve? You want it to help you get out of debt, allocate for debt repayment on your budget. Yeah. Samuel Njoki, thank you. Very insightful and practical. Thank you. Kanjay, great session. Any resource you can share to help someone with expense tracking? I think there's a lot of apps, especially if you're someone for apps. If you're someone who likes doing it manual, to be honest, I think I'm from the age where I like Excel. So I do Excel, try to beautify it so that I can keep doing it. But it's good for you to track expenses. And let me tell you, I was sharing with a friend, like maybe one of you would be able to come up with this. I'm waiting for the day I'll be able to go to the supermarket. I'm doing my family shopping, and then I can scan and it will upload all the expenses, and group it and say you bought this month, you bought 5 packets of Jogo. This month you bought like 2 tubes of Colgate, so that I can be able now to just, I don't have to be able to key it down, but figure out what works for you. There are apps that you can use. I think at the end I can share one. I think it's called Money Manager that I use. You're able to track your expenses and your income as well. Or if you're someone who likes manual, you can be able to do just a simple Excel spreadsheet. We keep it as simple as we can, yeah. But yes, you can either an app or just manually through Excel. Mark says, thank you for the insightful presentation. Thank you. My question is, how do you deal with a scenario where income is not certain, or rather earnings cannot be anticipated over a certain timeline? Yes, that and that's for like quite a number of us. You're working on commissions, you're working on, whether you'll get a gig or not. Now, if you've managed to do it over time, then you're able to work with an estimate. This is the income that I am likely to get. And as we said, when it comes to behavioral psychology, when you start thinking of what is the potential income that I can earn, you start looking for opportunities to earn that income. Yeah. You're able to note down your expenses and say, these are my expenses as Mark, as Linda. I need to be able to figure out where can I get 20,000 shillings to cater for my expenses. What am I good at? And then, and this income is not, maybe, I'm doing some casual labor. This income is not stable. So what can I do? I look for other avenues that I can be able to generate some income from the side. What else can I do? And for me, I think one of the key things that budgeting is good, and especially for people with income that is not certain is the numbers. Numbers are very important. When I start working with numbers and I'm thinking, I need to get that 15,000, everything around me, I start thinking, is this an opportunity for me to get that 15? And I think that's the bit. If you don't budget for it, you will worry so much about, I don't have. But when you start budgeting, your mindset changes and you're like, okay, I don't have it now, but what can I do to be able to get it? And you start figuring out how, or what can I reduce because I know this income is not coming, or these are my estimates. That over time, when I get 30,000, I will remember that 30,000, I might not get it next month. So how can I work this 30,000 to put aside some emergency fund, to put aside some savings? So when I don't get that 30 next month, at least I have some 10, some 15 I had put aside to be able to cater for that. But you're only able to do that if you've worked your estimates. You know, if I live within, very much within my means, I will need to only spend about 15,000. So the day I will get 40, I will make sure I'm spending that 15. The difference goes into my savings and my emergency fund. Yeah, I hope that helps. So Chebet is asking, how can I use budgeting as a tool to manage black tax? Yes, you know, issue we most of us go through, especially in the African setting. But again, as you if you know, then you can allocate for black tax in your budget, you know, and say, I am going to work with 2,000 shillings. So that if I get a call from an auntie from there, or an uncle with an emergency, and I'll say, you know what, uncle, I only have 2,000 bob to, and when you've allocated that 2,000 bob, and you know it is all that you have, imagine it comes out like it's the truth. Even they will believe, okay, it's true. It's fine. So you've allocated for that, and you know that is all I have, and that is it. And most of the time, what budgeting helps you to do is it helps you to give your money work. So I have said, I'm paying rent, you've paid rent. I'm paying electricity, I've paid electricity. I'm paying for my internet, I've paid for the internet. I'm putting this money into my investments, my 5,000 shillings, that 5,000 goes into my investment. I'm putting this 3,000 shillings into my emergency fund, that 3,000 goes into emergency fund. So I've put aside my 2,000 shillings for black tax. When I get a call from my mom about this auntie or my auntie's auntie who wants something, then it's the 2,000 I have. So, and in that moment, when you say, I don't have the money, you actually don't have the money because the money is employed somewhere else. You know, it's you've allocated it some work to do. So for me, I think that's the best way to be able to deal with that. Yeah. I don't know if I have missed any other question. I don't think so. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. I think that's it. If there's no more questions, I would like to extend my thank you to all of us for making it here today. Please share with us. We're hoping to make this a regular occurrence so that we can all be able to just, you know, get these opportunities to improve our financial literacy skills. If there are any topics you would want us to be able to cover when it comes to financial literacy, our emails are there. My email is there, linda@financeforfamilies.com. Reach out and you know, then now we can work on organizing a webinar and sharing insights as well. Financial literacy is very, very important. This webinar is going to be recorded. We'll share it in our socials. You know, Chumz will share as well. So please, for those of who did not be able to, were not able to make it today, please encourage them. Share with your friends, your family. Yeah, very, very important. We need to be able to up our financial literacy skills and everyone so that it can benefit the whole society. Yeah. Share topics and all that. So very happy to have met all of you today. And I look forward to engaging more, either through our socials or through emails. So contact, reach out, and let us know. Thank you very much to Chumz as well for heeding to the call, for partnership in the spirit of spreading and sharing when it comes to financial literacy. So thank you to Chumz for this, and yeah. Thank you. Have a very good evening, everyone.